Welcome back, everybody. We are continuing our radicals review with more simplifying, and this time we're going to include some variables with it. So we're still, what happens if I don't have a perfect square root? We're still talking about using a factor tree, but this time we're going to have some variables. And so there's several ways to do it, but the quick trick is to divide the exponent by the root. The answer goes outside the radical. The leftovers are inside the radical. And that'll make a little bit more sense when we talk about it, but I will show you some alternative ways as well. We still have radicals that might not be able to be simplified, and again, they're called prime because they have prime values underneath. So let's start with our first example. 48 is not a perfect square, and this is a second root, so we're looking for pairs. So I'm going to take 48 and I'm going to say, well, I know 48 is 4 times 12, and I know that 12 is 4 times 3. Now, we could break down these 4s, but remember, we're looking for pairs. And so if I have a pair of 4s, then I probably am okay with not breaking those down further. So we just have this 3 that's stuck. Now I have x to the third. Remember, x to the third is x times x times x. I have a pair of x's, and this x gets stuck at home. So the 4 is outside, the x is outside. We have our square root, and then the 3 and the x that were left over go underneath. And that would be our final answer. Now, if I were using the trick that I talked about on the last slide, that x to the third, and it's a second root. How many groups of 2 come from 3? One group of 2, which is this x that we pulled out here. And how many are left over? Well, 3 minus 2 is 1, which is what we have here. If you're a visual person, you may want to write out your variables. If you're okay with the division part, then you can do that as well. Number 2, we have the square root of 112. Well, 112 is even, so I'm going to start with dividing by 2, and that gives me 56. 56, I know, is 8 times 7. 8 is 2 times 4. 2 times 2, and 7 I can't break down. Again, this is a second root, so I'm looking for pairs. So here's a pair of 2s, and here's a pair of 2s. The 7 is stuck at home. So 2 times 2. Then we have b to the 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Group of 2, group of 2, group of 2. So I have b, 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 with this b stuck at home. So 7b stays there. Now the last thing I have to do is to multiply all of this stuff together. So 2 times 2 times b times b times b is 4b cubed, square root 7b. Again, for those of you who were trying to follow along with the shortcut for the variables, we have a 7th power and a second root. How many groups of 2 can I get out of 7? 3. So 7 divided by 2 is 3. Remainder, 1, which is what we have underneath the radical. Number 3, 448. Well, I know I'm going to be able to divide by 4, and that's 112. 112, let's try dividing that by 4. When I divide that by 4, I get 28. 28 is 4 times 7. Well, this is a pair of 4, so I'm going to go ahead and circle those and not break them down further. 4 and 7 I can't pair up, but 4 is 2 times 2, so I'm going to pair those two up. So we have a 4 coming out and a 2 coming out. The 7 is stuck underneath the radical. So now we have our variables. R to the 5th divided by 2. I can pull out 2 r's with 1 r remaining. Z to the 4 divided by 2 is 2 with no remaining. And Q to the 9 divided by 2, 9 divided by 2 is 4 with 1 remaining. And so if I multiply everything together, 4 times 2 is 8, r squared, z squared, q to the 4th, with a 7rq underneath. Let's try more. Third root this time. So with the third root, remember that means we need groups of 3. 48. I'll do 4 times 12 again. 12 is 4 times 3. Well, that's a pair, but remember I need 3s. So I'm going to break those 4 down into 2 times 2. So I have one group of 3 2s. And I have 2 times 3 that were left over with no triplets to go back underneath the radical. Okay, for y, we have a power of 6, root of 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so we have y squared. There's no left over. W to the 11 divided by 3. 11 divided by 3 is 3. And there are 2 left over. My last step, I have to multiply the 2 times the 3 under the radical. So 2y squared w to the 3rd times the 3rd root of 6w squared. Fun times. All right, you try number 5, and we will discuss this in class tomorrow. Thanks so much again for joining me. Have a great rest of your day.